Mrs. Gibson, please come quickly.
I rushed over when I heard the teacher's words, only to find my son lying on the ground unconscious. He had fallen off the playground equipment after colliding with a friend. Despite my anxiety and calls for help, my husband, who was at work, wouldn't come to our son's side. It's just too much, even if he's at work. His own son was being rushed to the emergency room. And then I realized the horrendous reason why he wouldn't rush over to his son. I'm Erica Gibson. I live with my husband Jason and our elementary school-age son Sean. Jason works in the hospitality industry and doesn't have weekends off, so he hardly ever attends school events for Sean. He has never been to a parent-teacher conference or a performance. When I received a letter about a parent-child field trip, I doubted he could make it, but asked him anyway. Hey, there is a parent-child field trip coming up during the next long weekend.
A long weekend? I have to work, so no can do.
I felt a pang of sadness, even though I knew the answer. Talking to other moms, it seemed like everyone else was adjusting their schedules to attend with their spouses. Other dads who usually work weekends are taking the day off to go. I mentioned this half-heartedly, and he clearly got annoyed.
So what? You want me to take off too? You do know what my job entails, right?
Yeah, I know. Sorry. So Sean and I ended up going on the field trip, just the two of us. While many families attended as a trio, there were also fathers and children without the mothers. It happens moms have to work too, I said to myself. I tried to enjoy the day with Sean, ignoring the others. But when the kids went off to play, I couldn't help feeling lonely. It was hard to join in the conversations with other moms who were with their spouses. Alone and lost in thought, Sean's teacher suddenly came up to me, looking worried.
Mrs. Gibson, please come quickly.
What is it?
Sean collided with a friend and fell off the playground equipment.
He did? I hurried to the scene, where my son lay unconscious. The teacher had already called an ambulance, and I accompanied my son, who was still out cold. At the hospital, he was immediately taken to the exam room. I realized I hadn't told Jason anything and frantically called him. Hello? Oh my gosh, Jason! Sean fell off the playground equipment and hit his head. He's unconscious.
What? You should have called an ambulance before calling me.
The teacher already did. Right now, he's being taken to the hospital for tests.
I see. So he's at the hospital. Text me once you get the test result.
I couldn't believe my ears. He's not coming to the hospital during this emergency? Are you out of your mind? Get over here right now. He responded with a tone of indifference.
Hey, I already told you I can't get time off this long weekend.
But this isn't an emergency.
He's at the hospital, right? There's nothing I can do if I go there. All we can do now is wait for the results. Let me know when you have them. Bye.
He said that and abruptly ended the call. I stared at my smartphone, shocked. He wouldn't even come home for our son's emergency. As I stood there, crestfallen, a man approached me.
Are you Sean's mom? I'm Dan's father, Scott.
Scott was the father of the friend Sean had collided with. I remembered he was the dad who came along with his son because the mother couldn't make it. He looked really sorry.
I'm terribly sorry for what happened.
I quickly shook my head. I heard from their teacher that Sean and Dan collided while running. It was partly our fault too, so please don't worry about it. Next to Scott, Dan stood with bandages, his eyes red from crying. It's because I bumped into Sean. I gently said to him, Dan, it's not your fault. Sean will be just fine. Will you play with him again when he's better? He nodded tearfully. Scott thanked me, looking relieved.
Thank you for your kind words. I wish my wife could be here to apologize too, but I'm sorry she couldn't make it.
No, it's fine. My husband couldn't make it back from work either. Is your wife working too?
Well,
He hesitated a bit.
actually, my wife is on a trip with friends. It was planned before the field trip, so she couldn't cancel it. Embarrassing, I know.
Oh, I see.
I've tried contacting her several times about the accident, but I haven't been able to reach her yet.
Just as he finished speaking, his phone rang.
It's my wife. Excuse me for a moment.
He hastily answered the call, explaining the situation.
So that's what happened. How soon can you get here? In 2 hours? But how will you come? You can't drive. Oh? A friend is with you. That's good then. Be safe.
After hanging up, he reported back to me with a sigh of relief.
Sorry about that. I just got in touch with my wife. She has a friend who happens to have some errands to run around here, and she can drive her here. There will be about 2 hours.
That's good to hear. Then my phone rang. Oh, it's my husband, excuse me. I stepped aside to answer. Jason, what's up?
I can make it there too. I'll be off work in about 2 hours, and then I will head straight there.
Really? That's great. After hanging up, I also reported back to Scott. My husband will be here in about 2 hours as well. It's good we could both speak to them. Then we were called by the doctor with Sean's test result. Thankfully, Sean showed no abnormalities. He had just lost consciousness temporarily from the shock and needed to be observed for now. Even though they said there was nothing wrong, I couldn't relax not knowing when he would wake up. I returned to the waiting area, where Scott was waiting for me with Dan, now asleep in his arms. We talked about our families to distract ourselves. Scott shared that Dan's mother, Marie, was a stay-at-home mom, but she often went out with friends on weekday nights and weekends recently. During those times, he would take care of Dan.
During the weekdays, my wife takes care of Dan all the time, so I want to give her some time off on nights and weekends. But if I knew something like this would happen, I should have insisted she cancel her trip for the field trip.
Listening to his story, I couldn't help but compare him to my husband Jason. Jason, even on his days off during the week, prefers to go out alone for a break. In contrast, Scott actively participates in childcare. I found myself confiding in him about my husband's shortcomings. As we talked, I noticed a strange coincidence. Jason's and Marie's behaviors matched exactly. The days they couldn't attend events or went out on weekday nights were the same. I suddenly became curious and asked, "By the way, my husband went on a business trip to New York last month."
When was that?
It was the first weekend of last month.
My wife also said she was going on a trip with friends on those days and brought back souvenirs from New York.
No way. We looked at each other in realization. It had been almost 2 hours since Jason and the other called. The first to contact was Jason. My husband is almost at the parking lot, so I will go to meet him. I told Scott and headed to the parking lot. Peering cautiously into the car, I saw no one in the passenger's seat. I had absurdly imagined that Dan's mother might be with him. I brought him back to the room where our son was sleeping, trying to look nonchalant. After Jason exchanged brief greetings with Scott, Dan's mother appeared. Jason and Marie froze for a moment when they saw each other, something I didn't miss. He greeted Dan's mother as if nothing was amiss.
Hi, I'm Sean's father. Our son always talks about your son. Nice to meet you.
His voice was strained, and she replied, also flustered. Oh, nice to meet you. I'm Dan's mother, Marie. I decided to stir the pot a bit. Oh, Marie, is this your first time meeting my husband? She answered, clearly panicking. Of course it is. We've never met before. You don't have to deny it so vehemently. You could have met him at school events or parent-teaching meetings, right? That's impossible. I had no idea Jason's son was in the same class as mine. I hadn't mentioned my husband's name in front of her yet. Gotcha. This was a clear sign. I was now certain of my husband and her affair. Moreover, it seems they didn't know their children or classmates. That's strange. How do you know my husband's name if this is your first meeting? She stuttered in response. Well, that's because, Jason interjected, defensively and angrily.
Hey, Erica, what are you trying to do? You are being rude. She's the mother of our important son's friend. Show some respect.
His shouting woke up Dan, who pointed at Jason and said, That's the man who comes to our house. Man who comes to our house? The room went silent. Marie tried to cover up Dan's words in a panic. Dan, what are you talking about? Maybe you are confusing him for someone else. But he continued, looking puzzled. It's not a mistake. Dad, can I have your tablet? After receiving the tablet from his father, he showed us an image. Look at this. The photo showed his toy train set in his room. What about it? This is a toy you always play with. Dan proceeded to point at the man behind the train set. This man here, that's him. I recognize him because I look at this picture from time to time. In the background, Jason could be seen chatting amicably with Marie in the living room. There's no escaping this now, I muttered, glaring at them. Scott, too, was shaking with anger. He yelled at his wife in anger.
So you've been bringing your affair partner into our house while I'm at work? And on this date, I was away on a business trip.
I was stunned to see the date. This date, Jason, you didn't come home from your business trip either. Did you stay at Marie's house?
Oh, well, she said it was okay, so I just...
He admitted to the affair easily, pushing the blame onto Marie. She quickly retorted. What? Blaming me? You said it was a waste of money to stay out. Their ugly argument was interrupted by Scott.
Enough! Bringing your affair partner into a house with our son. You're unfit to be a mother. It's despicable. I utterly despise you.
Jason seized the opportunity to make her the villain.
Exactly. She's unfit to be a mother. At least, I've never met her in front of Sean. I care about my child.
What? Did he really just say that?
This is absurd. Anger started boiling inside me. Don't be ridiculous.
You didn't even try to get to the hospital when Sean was unconscious, using work as an excuse.
No, that's not true. I'm here at the hospital now, and
That's only because she decided to come. Until Scott told her about our kid's injury, you had no intention to coming here at all.
Well, at that time, I thought it was okay without me.
It's not about whether it's okay or not. A father should rush over when he hears his child is unconscious. Instead, you prioritized your trip with your mistress. You're no father.
You can think what you want, but I'm Sean's father. What if he doesn't wake up? Can a stay-at-home mom like you keep paying for hospital bills? Without me, you and our son couldn't survive.
Painfully, I realized I didn't have enough savings to keep paying the hospital bills. Did I have to turn a blind eye to his infidelity? Just as I was about to resign myself, a faint voice came from the bed. Mom, I turned around to see Sean barely opening his eyes. Sean! I clung to my son, and he hugged me back tightly, then said, It's okay if Dad leaves. I will be fine. I will protect you, Mom. Hearing his words, Jason stood there stunned.
Sean, why would you say that?
Sean answered firmly, Because you are leaving, right, Dad? I heard you on the phone the other night after Mom fell asleep.
On the phone?
Yeah, I heard you talking when I got up to use the bathroom. You said, I feel nothing for Erica. If it weren't for the kid, I'd have left to be with you already. Jason's face turned pale. So, Dad, I will make your wish come true. I don't have to be your son. I don't need a dad anymore. Jason was shocked by our son's words. Contrarily, his words finally made me resolve. I've made up my mind. I want a divorce. After I told this to my husband, Scott handed me his business card.
I will help you with your decision, Erica.
The card he gave me showed he was the head of a law firm.
There must be plenty of evidence besides this toy train photo. I will take care of filing for alimony and child support. I plan to do the same with my wife, so it's killing two birds with one stone.
Marie panicked at his words. Wait! I haven't agreed to a divorce yet! I won't divorce you! Scott then coldly said to her,
You are joking, right? You don't have a choice after having an affair. A mother who brings her affair partner into a house with her child is unfit. If you want to fight it, we'll go to court. You know how high my win rate is, right? And with evidence like this, I can't lose even if I want to.
Seemingly resigned, she slumped and agreed to sign the divorce papers and pay the compensation. Seeing her submit, Jason also signed a pledge to pay alimony and child support. He probably realized that it was futile to go against a lawyer like Scott. Later, both our marriages ended in divorce. Now that they were free, Marie and Jason, as planned, started living together. But their life didn't go as expected. Once they moved in, they began to suspect each other of having affairs, leading to a tense relationship. Eventually, Jason actually cheated with another married woman. Unsurprisingly, he was easily caught and faced another alimony claim. Marie also had an affair, but her lover just used her for money and then left her. She spent all her savings, and Jason was drowning in debt from the alimony payments. They blame each other, yet they can't separate and continue to live together miserably. It's clear their financial situation will soon become untenable, but I have no sympathy for them. They brought it upon themselves. Meanwhile, thanks to Scott's help, I received more than enough in alimony and child support. And now Sean and I are living a peaceful life. Sean has returned to his normal life without any issues and continues to play happily with Dan. Scott has become a good confidant, more than just a mom friend, someone I can talk to about anything. My wish now is to continue this happy life with my son, just the two of us.